Today on AGetc, we're focusing on water. First, Kyle Bauer catches up with Tracy Streeter, director of the Kansas Water Office, who talks about the history of water management in Kansas. Next, Kyle visits with Earl Lewis, assistant director of the Water Office, about how the state pays for its water plan. Next, Kyle is joined by Eugene Goff with the Army Corps of Engineers and Wes Perry, who discuss dredging at John Redmond Reservoir. Then we end with rancher Joe Leathers talking about the difference between a vision and a goal and why that is important in the cattle business. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I have the opportunity to visit with Tracy Streeter. He is the director of the Kansas Water Office. We're going to visit with Tracy to start with to talk about the history of the Kansas Water Office and the history of water management as far as the state of Kansas goes. Tracy, can you bring us through that history a bit?
Sure. Probably a lot of the water public policy and government in water in Kansas began after the 51 flood. There were a number of local units of government created in response to that, and then in the late 70s there was a study commissioned by then Governor Bennett and his lieutenant governor that ultimately suggested that there be what we have now, the Kansas Water Office. And so in 1981 the Water Office was created, which called for a comprehensive state water plan. It was set up on a water basin basis, and we had 12 major river basins that we managed, and we had basin plans for each one of them, as well as some other sections that looked at state policy recommendations. And that's really the kind of the origin of the Water Office, was back in that era. And the responsibilities of the office that evolved from that is obviously the staff to create the state water plan. We also have a Kansas Water Authority that was created at that point in time, which had a number of appointed positions by mostly the governor, but there was also some appointees from legislative leadership representing all the various water interests in Kansas. Each of those 12 basins that were created for planning and management also had a local advisory committee that was created as a result of that. So that really set the structure for getting citizen input up through the BACs, basin advisory committees, and then the Water Authority had the ultimate responsibility of approving the water plan and make recommendations to the governor and legislature on any policy that needed to be considered by the executive and the legislative branch.
As we look at the reservoirs in the state, though, at some point the state of Kansas became part of that management and ownership.
That's correct. Kansas is unique. I think the only of its kind in the nation where the state government has the water supply contracts with the Corps of Engineers at 13 of the reservoirs. Typically, they're individual water supplies or industries that have that contract, cities, rural water districts, etc. And so we operate a wholesale water utility through a water marketing program where we take all of our customer base and operate it as a system. And we also have an water assurance districts that are kind of a companion to that, where folks that are on the Kansas, Neosho, and Maridazine River have the ability to purchase storage and operate the river as a system.
We're visiting with Tracy Streeter. He's the director of the Kansas Water Office. On the show today, we'll be talking more about water marketing, water storage management, and we'll be looking at the dredging on John Redmond Reservoir.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
We're visiting with Earl Lewis. Earl is the Assistant Director of the Water Office. Earl, we want to talk about funding and how the state pays for its water plan. Let's just start with that, and then we'll work into John Redmond.
You bet. So in 1989, the legislature passed the State Water Plan Fund to really try and implement the practices and programs that were coming out of the water plan. It's based on a set of fees and some statewide sources, and it has been pretty stable over the years, but it's been pretty level as well. And it funds a variety of programs, projects, and a lot of things just trying to implement water and make things better for Kansans.
Now, you have fiscal responsibility for some of the maintenance costs at the reservoirs. How do you get that money?
Well, in addition to the Water Plan Fund, we do operate a raw water utility and sell water, if you will, to municipal industrial customers. And so they pay essentially the state's cost to purchase that storage from the Corps of Engineers. And so cost for the debt service, as well as the cost for operating and maintenance, and our cost for running the program as well, comes really from our customers.
Now, you own a portion of the storage capacity in a number of core reservoirs in the state of Kansas. All of them would have some sedimentation problems. How is it that you chose John Redmond for this first, I'll call it pilot program? Is it fair to call it a pilot program?
It is fair to call it a pilot program, and all of our reservoirs do have some level of sedimentation or problem. And if you look at John Redmond, it's not the most sediment in, and neither is the fastest. And so the reason it was picked is because, again, trying to make sure that we're providing good service to our customers. And so as we looked at that and said, how are we able to make sure we have water for our customers, in that case, those communities downstream and Wolf Creek Nuclear Power Plant, we looked and said, can we make it through a 50s drought and make sure we have water for everybody? And that was the one that we had the most trouble ensuring that we could meet our customers' demands.
When you looked at John Redmond and the dredging, that sort of a dredging project isn't used many other places.
It's not, and it's an expensive process. We did a lot of research on other projects, other programs around the nation. Ohio, Iowa, South Dakota all have had or do have different dredging programs run at the state level. But most of those, all of those really are for recreation, cleaning out marinas, cleaning out boat ramps, those type of things. So nowhere in the nation had a non-federal entity, a state or community, gone into a Corps of Engineer reservoir and dredged for the purpose of restoring storage and creating water supply. So while there's been dredging and it's been around for forever, doing it for this purpose in this way was really the first time that anybody's done it in the nation.
Now, as we look at this and funding specifically the dredging, how is that happening?
So the state of Kansas issued a bond a little over a year ago, a 15-year bond, about $20 million. And so that's going to be paid really 75% from statewide sources from that state water plan fund that we talked about, and then 25% from the water marketing fund. And you might imagine there was a pretty good policy debate on who should pay and how much who should pay. But again, since it was somewhat of a pilot program that may or may not go beyond this in the state of Kansas, we thought probably a 3/4, 1/4 was an appropriate split.
We're visiting with Earl Lewis. He's the Assistant Director of the Water Office in the state of Kansas. We'll be looking more at dredging on John Redmond Reservoir after this. Back to you, Jamie. KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
This is Kyle Bauer. I have Eugene Goff. He is with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we are at John Redmond Reservoir talking about the dredging project. First, Eugene, if you would tell me about this office here with the Army Corps.
Yes, this is the Kansas area office where the duty station is for several of us. However, we still operate eight lakes within the Kansas area for Tulsa District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Now, this project is fairly unique to the Army Corps of Engineers.
That's correct. This is a unique project for dredging. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers dredges all the time, all over the place, usually on the rivers and stuff like that. However, this will be the biggest project that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has at a federal reservoir inland, and that's what makes it unique.
With it being unique, is there a different dynamic here? Do you have a lot of people watching this project?
Definitely. There's a lot of people watching this project from different states around the country, and most of them have got a water supply lake or a reservoir that they're having silt problems too, where they're losing storage areas. So they're looking at it. They call and talk to us and watching that to see how it goes from start to finish, probably anticipating that maybe something that they will have to do at some point in time.
Now, as you did this project, the Water Office was very involved as far as the state of Kansas is concerned. But from the Corps, what did you have to do to get ready for this project?
Well, absolutely. There was a lot of reviews of submittals. The Kansas Water Office was required to submit reviews for Section 404, the Section 408, as well as environmental, cultural resources review. And the Corps reviewed those, and it actually went clear up to headquarters D.C. for final approval for the project.
When the Corps does a project like this, what is its largest concern?
Probably the largest concern is just the safety of everybody on that end of it, as well as the dam safety. There was a lot of time spent looking at the dam embankment, the structure, where the dredge was going to be placed, where the pipe was going to be placed, and how it was going to be routed around the dam in a safe manner, not to impact what the reservoir was originally authorized and constructed for, and that was for flood risk management.
Now, once operations started, what was your biggest concerns and or time spent after the dredging started?
Well, the time spent is continuing a daily basis in communication with the project superintendent for the dredge company, which is Great Lakes Dock and Dredge. Big concerns that we have, really not any big ones, just a lot of small ones that we were monitoring, and that's safety, making sure that the dredge was had the proper navigation lights and the piping there, and that the public was still going to be able to use that recreation area and dam site. Those were our biggest things.
So during operations, there's continuing to be fishermen and boaters and on the lake.
That's correct. There are boaters on a limited basis. There's a lot of sightseers coming out and taking a look at that, but the boaters are very well aware, and the dredge company has left it open for the public to be out there, whether they're camping or boating, and that's went without a hitch.
We're visiting with Eugene Goff. He is with the Army Corps of Engineers. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Randy.
And I'm Paul from PFI.
We would like to personally invite you to stop by PFI, home of Boot Daddies.
PFI is America's Western store, covering over 50,000 square feet.
Over 25,000 boots.
Visit Saddle City with the largest selection of saddles and tack anywhere.
A huge selection of hats at Big Spur Hat Company in PFI Town.
And choose from the best brands of clothing and accessories for the entire family.
PFI, located on Highway 65 at the Battlefield exit in Springfield. And I'm not kidding.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer at John Redmond Reservoir, continuing to talk about the dredging project. I have Wes Perry, and he's with Great Lakes Dredge and Dock. Wes, we're going to start with how dredging generally works.
Sure. So on this project, we have a cutter suction dredge, which is a dredge that operates with a suction mouth, which has a cutter head rotating around it to agitate and loosen up materials. Then the pump on the other side of the suction mouth sucks the material up through the pump and out through the discharge pipe. And it then continues from there through a second main pump, from there through the booster pump and into the discharge site.
Now, how big a pipe are we talking about?
This dredge we have on this project is a 22-inch outer diameter, 21-inch inner diameter.
So to give us some idea, can you tell us about how many cubic yards of material and or gallons you're pumping a day?
Sure. So in one day, we pump about 14 million gallons per day, and an average material day is about 30,000. Yesterday was 37,000, which is just over or about a million cubic feet.
So 37,000 cubic yards of material a day?
That's right.
Yeah, well, and if anybody wants to do the math, if you put a 20-yard scraper on that, that's a lot of scraper loads a day. So that's a lot of diesel fuel, but you burn diesel fuel as well. How much do you burn a day?
Well, our booster pump is the only piece of equipment that uses diesel, and that burns about 1,400 gallons per day.
Mm-hmm. So once we break it loose, suck it into the pipe, then what happens to it after it's in the pipe?
Well, once it's in the pipe, it continues a total of 5.25 miles into our disposal facility.
And tell us how the disposal facility works.
We have a series of 5 separate disposal facilities. The material in the slurry, it settles out traveling from pond to pond. We have them all running in a series so that the material has the longest settling time.
So then when the water eventually comes out the last settling pond, where does it go?
It discharges right back into the No-Show River.
So as you do this, do you run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
We sure do.
And how many personnel does it take to run this dredge?
We have a crew of 10 guys on site at all time in 2 different shifts. So 10 guys each shift.
How much, when you're pulling out the sediment, there's bound to be things in there that aren't part of the dirt. Is that a big problem?
It certainly can be. We've actually had a few different instances where some material that we've dug has actually damaged our equipment pretty extensively.
So then it's a question of dismantling it and getting that out of there. It's not any more difficult than that. I mean, you just have to just tear it out, tear it apart, and work it over again.
That is correct. Typically, it's just a 40-minute job to pull something that we've dug up out of one of our pumps.
So those pumps, how big are they and how many horsepower does that take?
We have 3 pumps on this site. One pump is 1,000 horsepower, and the other 2 pumps are 2,000 horsepower.
Now, you said one of them runs on diesel fuel. What do the others run on?
Our dredge is an all-electric dredge. We have a power cable running from our substation through the water and into the dredge, so that powers our 1,000 and 2,000 horsepower pumps.
We're visiting with Wes Perry. Wes is with the dredging company at John Redmond Reservoir. Back to you, Jamie.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide, presented by Lucas Oil, featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV, the all-new Better Horses Network.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotating cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there was a way to get rid of this pain, then I wanted to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Take care of your land. Raise good Angus cattle. 4-6's ranch manager Joe Leathers begins there.
We can love the cattle business and we can love the horse business and we can want to do the very best job we can. But reality is, if we don't take care of our land, the health of it, the water, the grass, the wildlife that goes along with that, then it won't be very long. We're not going to raise any cattle or horses because the land will be ruined. So our first priority in the industry is to take care of the country. We're the original environmental stewards.
Ranches, no matter the size, have a big part to play.
The consumer a lot of times has a misconception that we're big cigar smoking ranchers that own thousands and thousands of cows, and there are a few that are like that. But the most of the cattle industry is made up of small businesses, small family businesses run by a mother and a father. A lot of times a grandmother and a granddad are still there, and the kids are growing up there, and the next generation takes it over.
The ones that sustain that culture have a plan, and they stick to it.
And I think that every operation, large and small, needs to have a vision of where they want that operation to be, and what they want to accomplish in their lifetime and what they offer to the future generation that takes that ranch over.
Leathers says hardships will come and goals can be adjusted. From there, stay the course.
There's a difference between a vision and a goal. A goal is standards or markers that you set in order to achieve the vision. But the vision for what you have for your operation should never change.
A vision to raise the best cattle on the 4-6s meant replacing Hereford with Angus sires.
Our performance in the yards has greatly, greatly improved, and the performance of the calves, the grade of the meat, there's just night and day difference. So the marketability of our cattle is changed dramatically because of Angus cattle.
A plan likely to last generations. I'm Bob Cervera.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.